gumb zapvug taz wolioch numzah bleetza qavwazm qatlamaz buffvah. And the moment of the solstice is Saturday, September 21st, 1:19 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that would be 12:19, 11:19, 10:19 p.m. of the Friday. And on the screen here, I have the ritual site from 3 years ago. And do you have any impressions of the chant?
I got a feeling of completion. Completing one chapter. Pushing beyond one comfort zone, going back.
And on the screen here, you can't see it from your end, but it's a little bit off the screen. So the same pattern with the fourth one on the top going from the right, about square, the stargates of the Nakala, and it relates to the it relates to that for yeah, and it kind of, the thing on the movie, that's not exactly out of the blue, and there is an experience that's kind of like that. And I'm trying to find the thing here, but very specifically, this version of the seal, we end up with, next to Pluto, next to Jupiter. So we have Charon, so it's near that moon, and we have next to Io and next to Rhea. So Jupiter and Saturn. And we can relate this to the triple goddess idea mentioned. In the Quran, we have a lot, and this relates more to the one near Pluto, Manat, and that relates more to the one near Jupiter, and Al-Uzza relates more to the one near Saturn. And I am going to load here again. And if you have any ideas of related to any of the things that
call it the free realm. I redrew.
Oh, and your symbol, and your symbol. What's tell us the story behind that.
night. What the? Forget more day.
Well, it was related to that one picture that I showed you. You said that that it was after that. So I thought, it's on the disc of the thing here, and I thought it looks like a sine wave atop and like a cerebral T in Sanskrit, and the three dots made me think of the off to the side, made me think of what's the word that I'm thinking of? Um, it made it yeah, it made me think of the Stargate, so that's why I bring that up. And whether I'm consciously operating it or not, it just seems to keep coming up in the middle of my winter solstice ones. So finding you don't have to be too exact, you could say, but it helps to find yourself the positions of, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn before starting the ritual.
Wow, I'm right. When I first got the dark color on it, I didn't think of the sign. Yeah, I just feel like my hand just go in and it's off. Feel
Okay, the first word in the chant, agab, is manipulation. And on the screen here, we have the ohms, and in two versions on the left. So the horizontal and the vertical versions of them. And on the right, we have the rune stave runes and the regular runes on the rim. And
yes, invisible, right. Speaking of which, I the rock I had played on.
so Pugwasm is earth, earthquake, vibration. So that would be word number 7 in the chant. And might as well go into here the the poem of the seasonal. The deepest pull of icy ages is here to turn us all to sages. They have come to take part in our circle. The doors have been opened to cone forests, rock springs, rivers, marshes, deserts, grasslands, bushlands, savannas, sand dunes, coastal strands, jungles, sage scrubs, lakes, rocky shores, deciduous forests, subsoils, salt marshes, open oceans, the universe, tundras, timberlines, and ocean depths along our journey. A darkener is an enlightener in the collapse of society. Fire, blood, and soil identify good and evil in our discoveries. A global scattering is gathered in our spirituality. The revival will not come with the obscurities and fluff of a new ager. It is for us to embody and confront the entities eternally slain and slaying. We draw in more than examples. Manipulators of consciousness and physical circumstances. The Draugr reanimate without need to stratify from other groups in this world of extremities. Let us distinguish fantasy from reality as we approach the twilight of divinity. We do this as sacrificers of the subtle and external, using mundane or intellectual ways doesn't make any a betrayer. Amongst the blight, our worth is proven with more than the voice that joins 9 worlds around. Earth beyond mirth, the black and white of it all provides the land with an inorganic and mystical vessel cleared by security. The riddle of earth seizes with its might. Dreams form connections with 2 visions. Affirms its right. The table of art will guide, and the stars affirm its right. Okay. I accidentally wrote that twice. Woken for the fight, when old and gone, there still are light. Solar wheels in holy nights refer to what is done in deepest night. Okay. And so there's that.
You have an excellent way of writing this. I mean, it's thought-provoking just in itself.
Well, the two books that other than these verses that I'm listing that particularly went into this, I've already done programs on. Jallarhorn, Journal of German Esotericism, Volume 1, Issue 1, Agnes Hoyt's Press, same publisher, Shadows over Germania, The Dark Odinic Cult of the Draugr by Hunter Herzog, and that is the other volume that explicitly got put into this seasonal. And of course, some of these things are some of these things are it's important not to just read books or have books. You figure out how to work them. Now, some people will just perform the rituals as is, and my comment is not that I'm not reading out the book, and there's a lot of terms in here. Some history of why Odin and Satan or some other term for non-Christian path is related to that. But I have felt that the the Norse are sometimes Slavic, or but the Teutonic and the Slavic paths in particular have been the ones that I've connected to the winter solstice. And so the colors for the winter solstice that I've one will see the candles that I use. The thing I usually have something scented, although I don't require that per se. But there tends to be some sort of evergreen tree sort of stuff. But the colors of the seasons, the darkest time of the year, black, and then purple would be the coldest. Green would be, the equinox, and then the bright quarter starts with yellow, and then the brightest time of the year, white, the hottest, red, and then blue and orange. And they obviously make a bit sense with what's going on with that. And So another word that we go into is the third word in the chant. His is the word for disincarnate spirit. So kind of like, you could say ghost because it's no longer bound to the body. You could say, because you always return if you're alive. Um, although you can separate from the consciousness of being bound by the body. Of course, one of the problems people have is the word mysticism, because mysticism isn't it's not the same thing as being delusional or not being true to life or something, or just having a weird experience. It's a mysticism is about you're bringing out more of it. You're um, fine. Okay, so fall, descend, decrease is Wolyoch, and that would be the fourth word in our chant. Um, I'm there. Maybe I'll just go over the numbers in the meantime. Um, to because I think we have meaning of this, but I don't always. Sometimes I remember more meaning with the Vazuvama chants than I do words, and other times I remember more in terms of the words. And so it's important to keep recordings of one's experience, um, because some things can seem insignificant. Okay, the za in the fifth word is influence, effect, affect. Um, and yeah, I don't have the thing. So there's the verses included that we're going to go over here is 2 Kings 9:11, 2 Chronicles 34:33, Matthew 13:45, Mark 1:36, Luke 22:2, Acts 26:3, Romans 1:21, 2 Corinthians 10:5, Colossians 2:18, 1 Timothy 1:4, 2 Timothy 2:23, Quran 1 I mean, 354, 457, 616, and 148, 10, 36, 60, and 66, 33, 10, 34, 20, 37, 87, 38, 27, 41, 23, 45, 32, 48, 6, and 12, 49, 12, 53, 23, and 28. And we'll definitely understand a bit more of that when we get into why that was the choice. Um, and well, I'll just go over the numbers. So 0A and 2 through 9 is GIURHVTM. 10 is N. 2 times would be J. Um, 50 would be B. 100 would be S. 500 E. I don't have names of the letters, but it forms that sound. 1,000 would be F. 10,000 W. 100,000 O. A million Y. A billion D. A trillion Z. Um, a fraction would have a C in the middle, and that would make the ch sound. 9 times would be P, 7 times would be the Q, 3 times would be the X, 5 times would be the K, and so might as well. One of the interesting things that people um, and okay, so one of the uh, yeah, I'm not, I don't, it's stalling. Hold on. Okay, so perhaps, okay, there it is. So as one can see from the board here, there is some verses. So Second Kings 9:11. And some of this comes through in the original that doesn't quite come through in English, as one has noticed before, is the terms fit. So Judah went out to the other officers of his master, and they asked them, "Is all well? For what did that madman come to you for?" He said to them, "You know the man and his ranting." And obviously, there's a lot of history related to some of these things. And, you can use these with your own intentions and um, and all that. So Second Chronicles 34, 33. And okay, so there's talk about Odin is the madman in the book, and so I guess that's why that's there. Josiah removed the abominations from the whole territory of the Israelites and obliged all who were in Israel to worship the Lord their God. Throughout his reign, they did not deviate from following the Lord God of their fathers. Now, Lord is mistranslated here. We're looking at Yahweh, which is God as a verb and noun. Um, and and it's not just their fathers, it's the predecessors, you could say. Yeah, so the um, but it's interesting. This forced worship idea. It's like, so how do you know, and how's it authentic? One of the things that people was like, oh, we're afraid of Islam. It's like, are you kidding me? He told people not to try to force anybody to convert. So it's not the type of thing you need to be afraid of, the thought police and all that stuff. But 1345. And so I would be using the Aramaic, as it would be called. Armya is now known as Biblical Hebrew, but that just doesn't make sense if that's the spelling of the name of the language, right? So nobody called it Hebrew until after it was basically limited as a liturgical language because it wasn't a living language anymore. 1345, again, like is the kingdom of the heaven to a man, a merchant seeking beautiful pearls. Well, one does certainly have to seek things out, don't you? And let me double check that things are still there. Mark, okay, Mark 136. And so when I do this live, I do responses. So, feel free to make your response with this. And that goes to people watching it too. And the city all gathered together was at the door. And of course, if one has a real path, a real whatever, it's for anybody who's willing to be there. Now, there can be limits to what's going on with attendance or some of the other stuff, but And so Luke 20, oh, it's an interesting number because it's three twos in a row. So 22, 2. It's interesting that all the canonical gospels started as 19 chapters and then they decided on something else. Of course, it represents a tradition of 19 chapters. So it's different versions and it's not the same number. And, people need to understand that the Bible is representative. It's not revelation in itself. Whatever one thinks about those individuals. And behold, a man by name called Zacchaeus, and he was a chief tax gatherer, and he was rich. Um, okay, so we're gathering different sorts of material powers, as you could say, to things.
Power. I'm going to go word power. I need to note that. Yeah.
And 26:3 of Acts is especially acquainted, being them of all among the Jews, customs, and also the question before I beseech thee patiently to hear me. Now, one of the things interesting that's coming up right now is all these people that are acting like, oh, it's the end times is finally going to come during Hanukkah, and maybe they've been planning and they're trying for it, but it doesn't quite work like that. And so there's people that, and it's like the biblical Jesus was very against both conservative and liberal Judaism, the add-ons and the takeaways. I mean, people should be able to turn straight if it's an authentic revelation or it's something that's meant for general use. I think we can all turn to that stuff. We don't have to we don't have to have a priest interpret. Now, you can consult secondary information, but you got to make the conclusions yourself, regardless. Um,
Mm, yeah. So I went within. Very right about coming to conclusion.
And so that's one of the things about these two books that I decided to incorporate in towards the thing. Celebrate Wilderness is also included. As some people may know, in recent years, I've included the Feraferia, Church of Medic Sciences. I probably included Rites of Baal and Astarte. I probably was influenced by that. Um, so the Church's Hermetic Sciences, the Ordo Templi Astartes, and some stuff there. So Acts 26:3. Wait, no, we already did that. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Okay, that was very close here. Um, Reasonings overthrowing and every high thing lifting itself up against the knowledge of God and leading captive every thought into the obedience of the Christ. Well, that's another one of those passages where it seems like Paul's out there to confuse you, right? Um,
As far as like the end of the world or something like that, it's hard for me to believe that would actually happen. Man is just going with it still.
Well, that's sort of the thing too. But the thing is it's not about, oh, we're predicting things like that. Why are we stepping away from the nonsense of people that think that, oh, Mercury's in retrograde there? It's like retrograde isn't anything physically. And astral symbolism is something you can do what you want with it. That's the whole point of it. Astrology is it's not, I mean, people have done that for time immemorial, but it's like, and then you find these books that say, oh, back to the Shadows over Germania and the Gjallarhorn book is one of the things about that is it's not about mere correspondences and all that. It's about working out your living path. You're being like, you're becoming like who or what you worship or whatever. It's you know left hand path in that way. It's about becoming. Now you can certainly draw in, but again, did I say Romans 1:21? Because having known God and not the God, they glorify him or were thankful, but became vain in the reasoning and darkened without understanding of their heart. So yeah, it's not just you go through a particular ritual. Um, that underlying point is what I included in that. Uh, I technically don't remember at this point, so I'm just going over the verses and people can figure out what themes I was trying to compile. Um, what are some traditions? So Colossians 2:18. No one of you let defraud the prize of doing his will in humility and worship the angels, the things which not has seen intruding into vainly puffed up by the mind and of the flesh. Okay, so yeah, don't be confused and just worship everything that appears and the body and all that stuff. So the angels aren't worth the angels or the light beings or the devis or whatnot. They're not the deities in themselves either. Um, and Timothy, oh, the thing about Timothy, the in passing, was it First Timothy 3:16? Oh no, it's not 3:16. It's Second Timothy 3:16. That that it's a list of things that kind of refutes the Bible as being the Word of God. At least some of it, you have to throw a lot of the Bible out because of its criteria. And I guess we'll so 1:4. So First Timothy 1:4. Nor to give heed to fables and genealogies insurmountable, which questioning, bringing rather than administration, God's which in faith. Okay, so teaching stories are important enough, and records of physical things are enough, but it's not about the genealogies. You can look at the history of an account, but your power is not just what your ancestry is. It's so 2:23. So Second Timothy 2:23, but the foolish and undisciplined, the questions they refused what they know, and they beget contentions. Yeah, don't waste your time with arguments for its own sake. But I said 3:16. So every scripture divinely inspired and profitable is for teaching, one, for conviction, two, for correction, three, and for discipline, which is righteous. So some of these stories about the donkeys and the horses, if you know what I'm talking about, and some of the other vulgar stories and some of the other stuff, it's like what is the value of this stuff in that context? I mean, people put a lot in their histories and stuff, but so
Something, that I feel not there.
well, you can. It's like in my like when I do the cosmological rituals, I am not invoking or evoking the angels. I'm I'm evoking a reference in myself to the various angels and demons and stuff and realms and stuff and I'm affirming a cosmology and I'm placing myself in it. That's what's going on. I'm affirming a cosmology and I'm placing myself in it. I'm not, and if anything wants to is attracted by it, whatever, but I don't have to call them up for that to be the case. Things are already there. But of course, things are attracted to your practice. Like I start reading a spiritual book in the forest, and sometimes an animal comes, but they don't come until I do that. Um, and some of the entities, it's the same thing. It's like there's entities, they come into the circle, some sit around the circle. And I'm not saying I'm totally aware of all what's going on there, but oh, and 354 is a long one. Then after affliction, he sent you a drowsiness, as comes the security, overwhelming some of you and making some anxious for themselves, and made them think thoughts of the what okay, let me double check what the word is here because okay, uh the emotional ignorance, and they said, have we a say in any affair? Say all affairs rest with divinity. They hide their heart in their hearts. What they don't disclose to you, they say, if we had a say in the affair, we would not have been killed in this place. Tell even if you'd stayed at home, those of you who were ordained to fight would have gone to their place of rest. Okay, so the season of sleep, we're in the season of sleep right now. God had tried to bring out what they concealed in their breast and to bring out the secrets of their hearts. For God knows your innermost thoughts. One of the nonsenses that's going on right now is this. Oh, if you speak a different language, it's like it's a whole different God that you're referring to. It's like you're referring to the same things regardless of what language you're speaking. That's just stupid. Um, and the people that try to think that it's like it's instead of the letters for 666, which actually doesn't make sense because it was originally 616. It's the same individual, different spellings of the name, but that you could say is referred to by that passage of the Bible, but it's not. Oh, he couldn't. He was trying to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim does not, in the name of God, the most beneficent, most merciful, does not look anything like XES. It doesn't look anything like it. So that's just stupid to think that. And I've given my theory of another number that can apply to what maybe he saw. This is what was said. But actually, the book of Revelation was a rewrite of a book of Barabbas. Yuda. So many of the Bible books were rewritten to be Christian or Jewish books, which were already around, which is interesting enough. But see, you had the tranquility, you had the presence, you had the rest, and you had this. Hey, it's not just about life. So one of the things that people need to be willing to do, and I don't mean some idiot thing where people think if I kill myself in front of other people or take other people with me, I kill myself. And no, a suicide attack in the army where you have to be willing to die is not the same thing as committing suicide and just taking people with you. That's not what you're doing here. But it's not about one's life, and that's part of the thing about the Pluto symbolism. Pluto is the planet that's, I guess there have been a few people that have lived that long, but in human history, or you could say at least it's narrated that that's the fact. But and then again, some of those words they have, like in the Bible, some of those things, every single one of those numbers has meaning that's not a number. And Noah was so old that he had white hair. I started getting white hair when I was 20. So instead of 600, it could have been 20 for all you know. But fortunately, I don't have black hair, so it doesn't, then again, it would be my position, right? 457, and it's for the saying we killed the Christ, Jesus, son of Mary. Well, definitely not anointing. You can't kill the anointing factor or the becoming factor of Messiah. It's becoming. So it's not ultimate divinity in itself. That just doesn't make sense. You can refer that to Odin. So who was but an apostle of divinity? Like the Bible keeps making the point, Jesus saying, "Hey, it's not my doctrine, it's not my power. I'm operating somebody else's power." You know, um, but they neither killed or crucified him. Again, that story put itself in later. Like really, the miracle was like in about 36 hours. Dead right before sunset on a Friday and alive before sunrise on a Sunday. That's not 3 days. And the Catholics have tried to explain that thing where and it's always part of it's part of so many different savior deity myths, vicarious mithraic type of stuff, that the crucifixion. So if you look into it, none of this it was something that made its way into the story as it built up and became how many historical figures were Jesus and all that. And so it appeared to them, those who disagree in the matter are not only lost in doubt, they have no knowledge about it other than conjecture, for surely they didn't kill him. And one of the things that's interesting, they never thought to put the big Christian Halloween, Christmas, and Easter are the big Christian holidays, and they never thought to put those in the Bible. And people think no, they were to compete with other stuff going on.
So many changes, additions.
And there's a lot of, it's like as was supposed. The Bible literally contains words like as was supposed. It's like, wait, God didn't know how to. It's like that's not my God. That's not a God worth worshiping. So you understand why the demiurge and all this stuff got associated with both the Jewish and Christian thought, because some of the stuff they put into these texts. So 616 If you follow the majority of people on earth, they will lead you astray from the path of God, for they will only follow conjecture and surmise. So again, your personal conjecture and the conjecture of others and the conclusion of others. So not being mundane is about stepping away from both the conservative and the liberal in that sense. And a lot of people like to pretend nowadays of, you know, that they are whatever they decide their identity is, and that's not quite how it works. Conscious involvement in that stuff matters, though. 148, but the idolaters say, which that's not quite the right word, is it? Misassociators, probably. Yeah, misassociators. Those with the quality of, making up associations. Um, if divinity had so willed, we would not have associated, nor would have our fathers, nor would have we forbidden anything. So the others denied them, and they had to taste the punishment to the end. Asked them, have you any knowledge? Then display it. You are following nothing but conjecture and are nothing but liars. So again, you have this idea here, but you have the idea it's connected to fate. Because you know how people are, they talk about fate, and that they talk about fate in such a way like, oh, I have no choice. And it's like, no, dude, you have a choice. That's the whole point. You have the opportunity and you've done something with it. So going about and acting like divinity is just going to stop you, and therefore, oh, if it doesn't stop you, it's the divine right, and it's like it doesn't no, we're all culpable.
So, different so that's easier said than done. Takes a long time. Honestly, it's difficult. So we're going to have to get with certain systems.
So 1036, many of them follow nothing but illusion, yet illusion cannot replace the reality, for verily the singular and definitive God knows what they do. And so one of the things about that is illusion, Maya, to use the Samskrita term, and moha, delusion. Well, these are choices. So if you see the physical reality as just the physical reality and that's it, it's referred to in those terms. It's not that existence is, you know,
I believe there's definitely more.
and so
Like in oh,
double check, I'm still on here. Okay. And so we have 1060. What did those who invent lies of God think about the day of reckoning? Will they escape the judgment? In fact, God is gracious to men, but most of them are not grateful. And one of the things about the reference to Odin is referred to so many names that we don't know in history. As much as there's been personification of things that we can do in the physical form, um, there's examples of stuff we can live and that's talked about in a limited way. There's so many terms that mean beyond that. And, I would have talked more about that in my more stationary comment on the books. 66, remember, whosoever is in the heavens and earth belongs to God. Those who call on others, they associate with God, follow nothing but conjecture and only guess. Now, we can say form and qualities and all that belong to, but there's something beyond. And in a way, the frenzy that we identify with and bring out, that is something that brings us to that realm, whether we're conscious of it or not. And all this talk about kingdom, we definitely build up of our kingdom in a way. And 3310, chapter 33 and 24 and 9, well, we're not going to 9 here, but chapter 33 is one of those chapters in the Quran that people are like, oh, one of the interesting things about, you have ayat, which means a sign. So again, you're manifesting a sign by even just mentioning or reading or something. Um, people's like, oh, magic is like, yeah, magic. You're consciously doing stuff with you're doing willful changes in consciousness and other things. Um, but it's one of those chapters that people are like, oh, iffy about. Oh, just skip over this one. Like if you don't have time to do the whole thing, just skip over this one. It's like, well, it's the living in the party of and that sort of stuff. It's because people want to just sit back and listen to poetry or whatever and think of, even if it's not poetry, if it's like more precise than that and all that, you are, yeah, and not superfluous in any way. It's still people just they want to be lulled and stuff. They don't want to be brought into the action. They don't want to have to do the mental work and all that. But in the long run, per se, it can be easier. Oh, and oh, this one's interesting. 33:10. And when they came upon you from above and below you, when the eyes were stupefied with horror and hearts jumped to the throats, and you made wild suppositions about divinity. Now there's talk about it. See, there's talk about the coming of the demons from every direction around you, but not up and above. Above and below requires your personal, you know, so things are coming from any direction. But how this affects you requires your personal thing in those other areas. Um, and a lot of us have had the experience of like our heart, it feels like our heart went to our throat or something like that. Um, but you got to prepare for the horror before the horror reaches you.
Yes.
34:20. And I've had sort of a war theme with all of this, right? Uh, thus Iblis, for about a year. Thus Iblis found a supposition about them to be true, and except for a section of believers, they follow him. And that's the thing too, is that the devil, the demons, there's the choice involved. There's none of this, oh, they just show up and just so powerful. It's like you have to choose your beliefs and actions. You can't, just like the other aspects of fate, you can't just you can't say, I was put in this situation, so I had no choice. It's like there is coercion, there is force, and that's different. Like internally, you can know, hey, this is not, whatever. Somebody's hurting you, and it's like, well, they're hurting you, and they're making anyways. But 37:87. And do you imagine the Lord? What do you imagine the Lord of the worlds to be? Now there is active imagination, but again, let's not limit these things to imagination. Just like when you do a spell for something, one of the things that you shouldn't do is you shouldn't limit it. Like if you curse, you should leave it open so it might benefit. So per se, maybe it's conditional, and therefore, if things change about that, you know, but like if someone's dead, curse be upon them is it throws people off. That's, I mean, as much as you want it to be true when you say that sort of stuff, but typically, like when someone's dead, like you say, John McCain, curse be upon him, enemy of America. Um, to be political, like correct, let's just throw that as the reason instead of getting into the 38, 37. We have not created the earth and all that lies between them, all for nothing. So the heavens and the earth, only those who deny imagine so. For the unbelievers, there is woe from the fire. Now, there's spiritual occurrences between space and outside of space, the macrocosm, the microcosm. There's more than just, your inner reality. You can reference things in your inner reality, and that's, what I was talking about earlier. But, it's there. So everything's spiritual You just have to make the choice to allow it to be spiritual for yourself. And I've talked in the poem, maybe we should re-go over the poem in closing. 41:23. It is this notion that you had of your Lord that caused your ruin, and you are lost. Even if they are patient, their abode is hell, and if they beg for favor, none will favor them. Well, that's definitely one of the realms that we go over. Maybe I should open the book and try to find the reference here. 45:32. Whenever it was said, God's promise is certainly true, and there's no doubt about the hour, you reply, we know not what the hour is. We only have a vague idea, but are not certain. And let's be honest about it too. The point is not in predicting the end time, because one, you kind of don't know when it is anyways, and two, it's your end time. It's what you do with your life that's what's mattering. 48:6, and that he may punish the men and women, the hypocrites, the misassociators and misassociatresses who entertain evil notions of God. It is against them. So yeah, when people have ideas that aren't true about spiritual realities, and they just try to make up their own deities and stuff, it's like it's not hurting the spiritual reality itself. It's against them, and that the wheel of misfortunes will turn. In Ekankar, they talk about the Agawan, so do the Sikhs and stuff, the wheel of the incarnations or whatever that people call it, samsara, and that God will be wroth with them and condemn them, for then they prepared hell as the evil destination. Well, the preparation of such things, again, it's your own choice. It's like, here's cause and effect, like in this world. People talk about cancer and stuff. It's like you're not guaranteed to get cancer or whatever thing, but you got to be ready for the maximum consequences of any of this stuff. And one of the things more recently said, it's like, no, it's about disease and damage. It's not about the behaviors themselves that have these consequences, but it's possible that those consequences will do those things. Like somebody will do drugs and quit when they're 20, and then have cancers and Alzheimer's and all sorts of stuff when they get older as a result. 48:12. In fact, you imagined the prophet and the faithful would never come back home, and this seemed pleasing in your heart, and you entertain evil thoughts. Your people lost. Now, some things will happen anyways. People will imagine and they'll do spells in their regard in one way or another, but and it's not just about divinity, it's about the agents of the entities. So the person who brings in the message, the spiritual community that goes along with them, or the person who follows along with the priest, or hopefully they're priests themselves. And into the general community, 49:12. Oh, you who believe, avoid most suspicions. Some suspicions are indeed sins. So, like there's a lot of talk about, if nobody's a witness to stuff, like people presume, oh, this is exactly the person who could do this. It's like, yeah, they could, but do they? Let's not say that. So do not pry into others' secrets and do not backbite. Would any of you like to eat a dead brother's flesh? You would surely be revolted by it, and fear God. He's certainly forgiving and kind. Now, when I see teachings like people see teachings like that, they're like, okay, which of my brothers are you talking about? It's like, but the metaphor is what it is. Somebody close to you, and it's like they're profiting off their death. That's why getting insurance policies on your relatives is not cool, because there's always that inkling of you're wishing and all this stuff, or if thinking out the inheritance, it's like you don't know if people could benefit more by being alive longer, or you could process more things. 53:23. They are only names which you and your fathers have invented. So linguistic games to compile names and stuff is not something that people should engage in, or no authority was sent down by God for them. Now, you can use language and stuff, but you should distinguish between terms that people came up with and other things, right? They follow only conjecture and wish fulfillment, even though guidance had come to them already from their Lord. Now, there's a lot of talk about wish fulfillment and religion and stuff, and it's like, so we got to be beyond that. Like one of the passages that we went across has this idea of, we are anchored in reality, in physical reality, but but it's beyond it, but it's not for itself. Yet they have no knowledge of this, follow nothing but conjecture, but conjecture cannot replace the truth. And so feel free to explain that a little bit while I move things back and forth a second here.
About the, that we aren't in physical. Of course, anchored in a way in it. Yeah. Not only that it's what spiritual, though. Spirits at least, go on. Hopefully, really,
And
the thing about this field versus the person.
Well, spell's just a use of language or symbolism, because people it's like literally the word gospel means God's spell. So people from that persuasion, there's not the issues with it that people may think. But again, people can use, of whatever tradition that they feel like, without being part of that. And I'm okay. So Zutbug, Numza, Qafmaz, Blitza, Buffba are all words that I am not finding the meaning right here. Because I it's there somewhere, but I'm not quite finding it. So
So is that which language is that?
Luzubama.
I always call it your ill language because I keep losing in my head, the correct pronunciation.
Well, one of the things that came first with it was all these chants related to demons about their cosmological or mystical meaning or something like that. And it's interesting. I was able to find references to some of them having this traditionally, some of these attributes, after I got the chant that said it. And I'm like, where is this? I can't find it. And then you can find it. And maybe that's part of the point, is it shows you that there's information coming through in another way. And so I think I should switch again the to the place, remembering that, picturing your symbol and on that disc there, I'm going to have my rune ohm things, and that deer picture is what related to that. And so Shadows over Germania was one of the books, and Jallarhorn 1-1. There's another issue for another year, so I mean there'll be more material. Okay, that's not the right thing, but I mean I'll obviously be more organized with this. So the Yule altar, as shown there, the scratchings of the symbols on the rocks, those didn't last for some reason, but the white the paint being worn off in the past few years makes enough sense. So that rock in the middle, the rather prominently, is still white. In the faith I was raised in, there's a story of an entity of an individual who says, "Hey, we can't have windows, we can't have fire. How are we supposed to light things? How are we supposed to see that sort of stuff?" And he's like, "Okay." He prepares these rocks and brings them for these white rocks forward that have been so prepared, and then these rocks turn into whatever. So I kind of remember some stuff like that, and I had an experience that kind of pointed to the maybe an original form of that name. Now, I think it was fan fiction, that thing that I'm referring to. So the I'm so but the point, it brings up some interesting points about alchemy and all that. So it is what it is. Agam the taz Wilioch Namzah Leapza Kavwazam Kafmaz Buffbah, and yeah, there's some interesting stuff that comes forth in these. It's unexpected and it kind of leads to more things. But so some ideas of before we go into and maybe break down a little bit of the thing. What are your ideas of the darkest time of the year and all that?
We should go forward. So like that in the project support.
Oh, and you could say numza if you put any of these things can be put into numbers. So let's do that. 19 and 1,000,006. And Huffma's 7 times 1,000 and 9,000,000. Okay. 7 times 1,000 and 1,000,000. And so 50, okay, 1,050. So 50, 1,007 and 6. Okay, so however one wants to combine that. Zipbug. Okay, P is 9 times. So a trillion 9 times 7 and 2. Oh, 72 is an interesting number, right? And so one of the things that I try to do with these rituals is just like the Jellerhorn thing starts out, is that it's not an armchair study. You want personal effort involved, and you want experience that's with the forces, both of your internal and externally. I'm putting things in my own terms here. I'm not sure how much I could read with this. Um, and you want that experience that's going to give you some sort of understanding. So we open wide the gates, or as they say, öffnen und waschen wurdenas.
Can you repeat that?
Something like that. Öffnen und waschen wurdenas. So that's the version of sort of what I would say in the I'd have to double check the thing.
I know. Like I said, it can also incorporate the symbol for violate and into Yule, made of a simple sigil. Some people call it sigil. I've made that symbol.
Oh, your symbol that was terrible. And I've already talked about the 9 realms elsewhere, but you have the DT realm. There's definitions of these different ones. But you have different realms. You have the middle world. You have the different elf realms. They're called so the light beings and the dark or the fire beings and the shadow beings. But then they're divided into different realms too. Yeah, I don't know how to quite divide that, but um, but they show the realms like there's 5. So the middle world is in the middle with 2 above and 2 below, but then you have like off to the side. So you have 4 off to the side of the middle world.
We all machine to get everything to get. Let's say hard to explain in words. How that so
And one of the things that's important to do is the shocks of life, the references to the odd events like the solar flares and stuff, even if it doesn't reach some catastrophic event or something like that, they're interesting things to reference and use. And whether they're in your control as far as physically or not, again, it's something you can redirect the reference of it in yourself. And one of the things that that you notice that I always do with my seasonals is I have a bread sort of thing. It's important to try to use natural sort of stuff, not the chemically treated and transformed and extracted stuff they try to get people into or whatnot. But I like to use something with chocolate, and I have a whole variety of different things this year, and anything can be symbolic. For my drink, I like to have something red, so I have not totally cherry, but it's dyed with there's enough cherry juice to dye it red. Um, and so that's the juice there. So I have different, no, I now one doesn't have to go out and use and oh, I have 2 of each for one thing, and that's not quite as many as I would want to use there. And but I have okay. So yeah, I have as far as Laura bars, I have a chocolate peanut caramel truffle one and a chocolate raspberry truffle one. Blood, of course, a symbol of. So basically, blood and flesh are the symbols there. I have a kind soft baked square, the peanut butter, almond flour, chocolate streak thing. I have the duos, Cliff Bar, the Cool Mint chocolate, and chocolate chip. I have a cool mint chocolate, regular Cliff bar, a chocolate chip, a chocolate brownie. Um, I have a junkless chewy granola bar. I'm basically governed by the whatever's the sale. I'm not spending $2 a piece for this stuff. Um, Crunchy Kodiak granola bar. My ring, if you see my ring for this seasonal has the, oh, that's what we didn't talk about is the tools. I was wondering what was there. Um, so yeah, I have that wand that my friend Death gave me. Haven't spoke to her in a few years. Since making this altar, haven't really communicated with her. But we have the the, the Samhain wand, which is the name of the season. I might as well say I have a Nature Valley Oats dark chocolate one. I have a Kind Breakfast dark chocolate cocoa, and I have okay Lily's extra dark chocolate, Lily's salt sea dark chocolate, and a chocolate XOXOX cherries and almonds and dark chocolate bar. Um, so that's my mystical food. I have my glasses. Um, I think I might send you one at some point or something that my 2024. Just wait for like a week or something after any of these holidays people celebrate, and either use it for that year anyways, or use it for the next time that season comes about. So for Yule, you buy the Christmas clearance, the time before, and the others the time before, and all this. So I just like a week or two, and then everything's all totally marked down, and you get your glasses that have that for whatever thing. So we have a pentagram, the we have a pentagram here with the Solomonic magic sort of chant that you can attach to those symbols. So, for calling on for clear appearance without deformity, without delay, without, that formula is related to that. We have the snowflake obsidian little crystal point. We have the bear claw ring, and we have two approximately four-sided stones. One's a quartz, so citrine because it has some yellow with it or orange, right? And I use that to represent the seasonals. Groups that are influenced by the Order of Nine Angles, I use this agate bloodstone sort of thing. And hemp is the string used. There is silver on the one ring. And oh, what does the band say? Trapper. I lost the one that said monster. I concealed it because I wasn't going to make an issue of wearing it, whatnot, and then I lost it, and I may have dropped it, and I didn't want to make a deal about, oh, you know, where I wasn't going to, um,
Put it put on there. Snowflake is just there's three of those.
and oh, one of the articles in Jellerhorn is, you know, talks about how things you don't necessarily find these things deliberately. And
And
studying and getting into these different paths of the so-called pagan, as you call it, and you know, it takes you somewhere beyond political. It takes you something alien. You may have to develop a certain sense of things, right? And so dialectics, as the Order of Nine Angles stuff would call it, is so so it puts you into different contexts. It puts what you're engaging in a different thing. And yeah, you do learn, and there is some sort of traditional stuff, and it's not just, oh, how can I break from tradition? Like I knew a guy that like he was supposed to be Muslim, right? And he ended up not Muslim. First of all, he was trying to interpret everything. It's like if you know the Bible's full of contradictions and stuff, what does that have to do with the text that's supposedly not not diluted by the interpretations? Now you can turn to interpretations, but I mean, like the text was separate, so you can tell the difference between one thing and another. But like he kept on trying to figure out ways of practicing a verse that sounded like it was going against the tradition, even if it was the prophetic explanation, which was a weird thing, right? And one of the things too, other than it turning into your blood, um, the Shadows over Germania book talks about you know, it's connecting your own blood to it, so it's like you're taking it into yourself. And some people will add their own blood into their bread and whatever, but it's not necessary. You can add the identity. And that's the whole thing, is going beyond any of the things like people complaining right now about the yeah, I'm not sure which parts of the book I included per se. You know, some people might want to use do pentagram. This book talks about a pentagram rite, so we're following the well, the deity that finally brings about things, deaths, and draws everything into it. So there is that hunter aspect, no matter how you look at it, right? Um, so in this pentagram rite, you're affirming stuff. So you're affirming the space, you're affirming your tools and what you can do with your tools. You're talking about the entities that connect to the mind and to the body and stuff, giving that direction. And oh, this one involves a mirror, and you're calling that protection to yourself, but you're taking the names. The names are as part of yourself. And rather than, so you're remembering that these things, they're part of your become. You want to, and without the Gideon Bible thing, the guy would like leak Bibles in hotel rooms, like so the staff wouldn't suspect him. Like, oh, because this dude traveling around, maybe he's up to some stuff that people do with. So he'd want everybody to know. It's like in that day and age when 90 something% of the country was Christian rather than less than half. Because see, people are turning to stuff other than Christianity or leaving Christianity because there's something missing there. The sentiment isn't there. The truths, they're finding out those truths aren't quite there, but the sentiment is more of a stronger thing too. So I referred to the scenery here. The deepest pull of icy ages is here to turn us all to sages. Now, there is that threat right now going on. It's like, first of all, it's like, okay, are we not being going to be, if it's even solar flares, are we not going to be able to handle it because we don't have power? And then there's the war could do that, but then again, war and volcanoes and all that could bring about real climate change. Not the stuff that they're projecting on us all the time, but real climate change could be brought about. And there's some things about that. And I guess okay. Simple Mills soft almond bar, um, white chocolate macadamia nut Cliff bar. I want to have the full variety with me of what I have. Peanut butter kind bar. Okay, that's fair enough there. Um, a kid's Cliff bar, the chocolate brownie one. And which ones I did not? Okay. So there's the extremely dark chocolate. I guess that's the Lily's bar that was not included in the first go around. So again, but the thing about sages is that it's our personal choices of development. We got to do our own work. It's not
there is work behind, you know, there's work behind it. It mentioned mirrors earlier. And of course, you know, I work in my mirror. And
oh, that's the thing. Were we talking about the whole amulet versus talisman thing? It's like things do build up. There are inherent sacred spaces, but you know, there's
after all, on my mirror that I have, black
so the peanut butter banana is a chocolate thing. So another Cliff Bar. Um,
very good kitchen correct. Sales in
and one of the things too. Well, that's the thing right now is the big grocery store trip right before like Thanksgiving or something like that. I keep on making my bigger trip of the month at a time, which is not good for it. Um, and so they have come to take part in our circle. And one of the things is that when you're working towards a ritual, things no. And when you've done stuff in a certain spot over and over again, things start to expect you to do something in that spot. Um, are they're aware of the potential of that spot. So you kind of want to return. And yeah, a person doesn't need a person doesn't need a different spot for each seasonal and all that other stuff like I try to do. But you know, it makes each special when I've done that. And there's the space, and it's like, why not? Um, and the effort. One of the things that the person may want to do before doing one of these rituals is to work yourself up into a state, and then you relax and all that. So you have, you know, the strain and the pain of whatever. So getting physical work done and then flash relaxing to experience more of the adrenochrome fugue. So the doors have been opened to cone forests, rock springs, rivers, marshes, deserts, grasslands, bushlands, savannas, sand dunes, coastal strands, jungles, sage scrubs, lakes, rocky shores, deciduous forests, subsoils, salt marshes, open ocean, the universe, tundras, timberlines, and ocean depths along our journey. So basically representing all of the terrains that one can be upon. Now it helps, like if a person memorizes something for a ritual, it does help, but you don't have to per se. But in a way, you should be able to operate anywhere, wherever you have. That's part of the whole point. And it's all about a journey. And of course, you can reference in yourself, what do these things mean to me? What are my memories associated with it? A darkener is an enlightener in the collapse of society. So again, just like the other stuff, it's not about what society's doing, about their station. It's about what you're doing with your opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fire, blood, and soil identify good and evil in our discoveries. And of course, fire, blood, and earth, or if it's incense, air, whatever, these are gateways that are opened. But you want to have your own discoveries, not just, you know, the tradition says this. A global scattering is gathered in our spirituality. One of the Mark W. Muesse talked about all these different religions and stuff, and how all these ones, it's like you don't have the whole picture in any of them. And so you can say, for the most part, almost every claim to religion has something. So you gather together what you can use and all that, but not some chaos magic sort of stuff where you can't decide on your religion and you're just going to be totally into one way and then another way and all this.
Certain parts of religion, certain parts of it.
Like, I don't believe in the ethnocentric aspect that defines Judaism. I don't believe in the vicarious stuff that defines Christianity or any other form of Mithraism, but some of their verses and stuff you notice how sometimes I skip over stuff? Well, sometimes that's because I don't agree with the context. That, and I want to keep things, it's like, I don't know when I do these things. Is it going to be like less than half an hour? Or is it going to be more than 2.5 hours? So when I go out in the forest and it's cold, I don't know if how much of the thing it's going to, but whatever the experience of it, and that's the thing too. Is like that, remember, was it the E.T. movie? What was the movie where the guy was taken somewhere and like, you're my big little brother? Oh, I think that was E.T.
I mean, like
No. It's something else. Something else. What?
Little boy on the cheek. He befriended to the family in the movie. I think did he have the ugly brother? Oh, that's been so many years ago.
I'm not sure if it's the same movie or whatnot, but see the idea that these things happen, and it's like the time's very short, but it seems like days went by, and you remember, like, for the year and a day thing and the 1001 and all that stuff. Some of the experiences that could be literally like the door swings back and forth in between, and you have the vision, and it's like that, and you remember it like that. Like, there's this alternative, whatever. There's a drug that people take to have this experience, but then they usually go crazy too. So, and there's the other way around. Like, it can be a seemingly long time and it seems very short. So, the revival will not come with the obscurities and fluff of a New Ager. So again, this terminology, see that some of these verses that we chose to talk about address this, is that this form that you have of the they try to be all flowery and all this other stuff and come up with their own stuff and try to take the edge off of it, and trying to put it all whatever. And that's not what we're trying to do, because things are very harsh seeming for that. It is for us to embody and confront the entities.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's a confrontation with our spirituality. That's why we do our work and we combine the things. And anyone might join, but then again, no, not anybody is going to join. Not everybody's going to whatever. And not all customs. Like, some people are going to have some stuff and some another. Like what I present on my channel, it's not that everybody is like especially the fact that I do stuff, most of what I do isn't my content. So, I certainly don't expect people to watch all my videos and do all the work associated with them.
So how many videos you have? Really?
But they, eternally slain and slaying, we draw in more than examples. So that refers to the whole vampirism and Draugr sort of context and whatnot. And the continual birth and death of yourself, really, and the effect upon others. And it is sort of a way, but people, of course, shouldn't get into it. It's like, remember that commercial, that feminist commercial where they were like, basically somebody made a comment that I didn't like or looked at me in a way that I didn't like, and it's like, no, woman, you weren't raped. Stop it. It's like, that's something completely different, and you're ruining you're downplaying what goes on for for people, whatnot. And yeah, so it's not like But you know, you hear kids play. I remember this. I remember very distinctly this one with this one kid running around. It's like you killed me, I killed you, and it's like, um. So he was going through that stage, and then now Child Protective Services people go too far with that. Um, but there's more to things like the living word, like the living word thing. The Luciferian thing is that you're bringing it out, right? Um, and so you bring out your own light, sort of thing. Well, the love is the V, I guess, but yeah. So it's more than the explicit letter of the thing. Manipulators of consciousness and physical circumstances, so magic. The Draugr reanimate without need to stratify from other groups in this world of extremities. So extremities aren't for themselves, but you can use that, and you don't have to. You can, like you're aware that I've been to different religious buildings and stuff. I've done not with videos and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, you don't have to just. It's like honestly, like the Eckankar stuff. If I was an area where I could walk to a meeting or something, I would still go to meetings. But do I have to go there and see? Oh, I don't believe your spiritual master has these powers to be the voice in my head and all this stuff. What's the point of doing that? You can make more use of the group, being there. And the point, of course, is that, that's if it is a dead form, if it is a dead teaching, okay, well then bring your own life into it.
Yeah.
And so people talking about, oh, the this religion or this is like, no. Let us distinguish fantasy from reality as we approach the twilight of divinity. Now, again, that's a reference to end time stuff, but then again, you reach the border of what this world says about things, and you reach the point where you're in the depths of night for yourself. Because the twilight is like you're the edge of it, the edge, you're outside of the day world, but you're still on the edge of it. So you're referencing it with the day world. So you're going beyond that. And then honestly, no matter how you're going to end or no matter what's going to happen after that, you kind of need to have a consciousness that does have an effect on that. You don't want to be just dragged through the afterlife machinery when that happens. We do this as sacrificers of the subtle and external. So the external is not the thing, and we become a living sacrifice. Our choices can become in that way. Using mundane or intellectual ways doesn't make any a betrayer. Now, betrayer, what's the word warlock? Warlock means betrayer. So I'm thinking about that, obviously. So it's important not to use just terms not knowing what they are and playing around like that. Amongst the blight, our worth is proven with more than the voice that joins 9 worlds around Earth. Beyond mirth, the black and white of it all. For some, it will be the brightest time of year. So that's important to consider. Provides the land with an organic and mystical vessel cleared by security. So again, through your mind, you're making sure there's no abrogation between your body and your spiritual function. The riddle of earth seizes with its might. we're not escaping difficulty here. We're just, realizing there is more than just the letters to it.
Which well, what even use the experience, even though not hard to work. We can to that the thing.
Dreams form the connections to visions. So both the waking and the sleeping things of extraordinary experiences, they particularly connect to each other. The table of art, our ritual space, will guide, and the stars affirm it's right. So regardless of the actual things going on celestially, it's all something we can think of.
About stars, different things about stars.
Woken for the fight, when old and gone, there's still our light. So we do pay the price, but there's something there that even if we think there's loss. Solar wheels, of course, wheel connected to the word for Yule, and holy nights refer to what is done in the deepest night. And that makes a lot more sense this year, because one of the things about this year is is that the solstice is right after, it's after the ritual. So in between the if I'm going to release the video for that, if I'm going to release the video for that, then I'm going to do the ritual, and then both of the between the opening and the closing. So yeah, it's important. The best time to start this stuff is in the evening. Then let it go into whatever portion of the middle of the night, but sometime in the evening, find out where the sunset is and start doing things before the twilight's over, and at least get through the main part before that.
Sometimes it can take one, a few days, for their preparation. For me, personally, fasting before having certain, like I said, the dark chocolate, I'm going to be beforehand. There's little things like that. And plus,
so obviously that's a lot of stuff. There's no way I'm finishing all that, but that's going to be on my dedication table. So some stuff makes it through multiple seasonals, and it's like, but it's different when you eat with a spiritual consciousness to it.
Yeah. There's eating, absolutely.
And that tranquility talked about in the one verse, there was the idea about there's this presence, there's something about that. And one of the things that you may want to work, just like Eminem talking about whether it's really a rhyme or it's not a rhyme, you make it sound like a rhyme. But remember that Helmet song? Helmet and 9 Inch Nails. They made fun of that, like 9 Inch Nails, the big man with the gun, was making fun of rappers. Same thing with Helmet. Helmet was watching a video, and it's like, so that's what he was doing. And so yeah, it's sort of neuro-linguistic programming that they're working with there. And there's no shame in, like, okay, something's, but it's you got handmade stuff. But you don't everything doesn't have to be handmade because we don't have all those tools in our thing nowadays. Um, any closing thoughts?
So I just keep feeling connecting to excitement. Um, I'll find out, during or after. So I'll find out, why where all this excitement is, what it linked to. Like I said, some things come in stages, some things come with spiritual feelings and being led, and things coming into your mind within talking to you. It'll come in stages and people and portions. But yeah, I feel a great excitement for this Yule. So we'll see what happens. That's all right.
Yeah, I try to make my seasonals something that, you know, I work towards. You can do something, come up with something the same day and all that.
Yeah,
But well, for
get
one, sometimes
flexible.
it's like, oh, what it's like it waits till almost too late to even post one of these things and talk about it sometimes, like some of the details, but angam zipvang tez wolioch namza glipza qamwazam qapmaz buffbah